Welcome back to Nickals and Dimes, the #1 podcast in combat sports. Today we are super pumped to have Mitchell Mesenbrink, national champion this year, FinalX competitor, and all-around stud on the show. And we're going to talk about wrestling, of course, but more importantly than that, we're going to dive into a little bit of psychology and just how Mitchell has become such an awesome human being. So enjoy. So what's new, brother?
Nothing much. Just saw you. You saw practice, so nothing too crazy.
How was practice today?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, bigger guys.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
You like going with bigger guys. I've always noticed that about you. Like, you always, I think when you first got here, you were like going with Max every day.
Yeah.
You like going with the big guys, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that since I was little.
Okay.
Mostly because AWA was so new, and there just wasn't that many guys. So I was a little guy, like 3rd, 4th grade, and I was wrestling like bigger 8th graders because that's all I had.
That's all you had.
And my dad. So it was like if I wanted to work on stuff, I'd work out with my dad, and I'm sure he was picking up his leg for most of it. But yeah, now it's kind of.
You would actually like practice with your dad. I thought you were saying like your dad's going to coach you.
Yeah.
But
well,
like
that too. But
right, yeah.
With, again, there just wasn't that many guys. And then my dad had been doing that with like Max and Ben and those guys coming through since like when he moved to Wisconsin in like 96 or so.
Okay.
So he had been doing that for so long. And that's actually how my mom and dad met, because my dad coached my uncle.
Oh, no
and
way.
So he had been doing that. And so, he just started doing it with me and helping me out.
Yeah.
And like I said, and he does with Mac now too.
Yeah.
So like I said, he probably
That's
picks
awesome.
up his leg. But
Yeah. He's in there. It's grinding.
yeah.
Who were some of your main training partners growing up then? Like guys that you wrestled with a lot?
It changed a lot because, like you said, it'd be like older guys. So it'd be like freshmen wrestling a senior, and then they'd leave, and so I'd have to get some new guys. For the most part, my dad, Ben, on and off until like my last few years. Then it was like
Then you kind of beat him up.
consistent.
And it wasn't like,
No, honestly, I wasn't able to start taking Ben down like legit until college.
yeah.
And then Mirasol is my senior year, Aiden Sinclair my senior year. Mainly like those guys at the end, towards the end. But my dad and I have been wrestling now, what I was saying, a couple of decades now. I mean, since I was little.
Yeah.
So
what makes that club so good? So many studs coming out of that now.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the same collective idea of like what they want to pass on to the kids. Like, it makes me remember it when I go and coach at clinics. Like the first coaching I had was coaching like 5 to 7 year olds. So like really little guys, and just knowing what they're pushing from that age on. It's, it's more like kind of how my journey ended up, where I was I blossomed more later and got better later. Even my senior year, until I started beating guys on the national level. I feel like that's more the priority, right? It's like to enjoy it. Like to get there, you have to enjoy it. And I think Ben and my dad do a really good job of that. And obviously I'm biased because now there's 7 or 8 locations in the state. So I can't speak to the other ones, but even those other ones are all coached by guys. Now it's coached by guys that were coached either by Max or my dad or Ben, or Josh Wagner's up in Green Bay. He was on the team with Ben and Max at Mizzou. So it's just like a collective of like normal, well, I would say normal, but then also just like an idea of how kids should look at the sport. And I think it was a very good catalyst for what I'm doing here now at Penn State. Like it's just it was very hand in hand. And I think, talking about like gratitude and stuff, it was just very easy to be grateful all throughout with my dad and Ben, and then being able to get coached by the best in the world,
Right. You brought up a little bit that you were kind of a late bloomer as far as the results and the accolades go and stuff. So talk to me a little bit about like, did you always believe that you were going to be where you're at now, or was it kind of a struggle, or what was the process like going from, being a kid and getting into wrestling and then, getting good towards the end of high school and now where you're at?
Yeah. And I feel like I don't want to say like a state title isn't good or anything. It's just like your own expectations for yourself, and like, I didn't even place going into my senior year at Fargo. I went, I don't know, probably like 4-2 or something. And that was just like, oh, geez, like that shouldn't be happening, And then I took 7th at Super 32, losing to Sealy and Ferrari, actually. And then after the season, like in Wisconsin season, then I was like, something kind of switched there. I felt like I started going like 2-a-days and get like really like, honestly, kind of like OCD about it, where if I hadn't worked out at least once, but like twice, I'd be like, I got to get in there. I got to get in there. And it was, so that was kind of a pullback I had to when I got here, pulling back like, okay, that might actually be hurting more. And I remember feeling it in my knees and everything. Like, it's hard to do that, without getting injured and stuff. Right. But, more in terms of, like what your question was with the whole journey, I feel like, I don't know, it was more with my dad. My dad is really good with like sports psych. And so is Ben. But mainly, Ben was more towards the end. So mainly my dad, like it just not a matter of just when, not if it's going to happen, So just kind of keeping that in mind. And it's funny, we started about talking about with working out with my dad. And I remember it'd be like, okay, you lose in practice in whatever, stuff in a shot. And then it'd be like, we'd work on that. And then it was, honestly, it was really fun. Like, I remember him making it fun in that sense, like, building the puzzle. Like, it was that idea of building the puzzle and, the map is not the territory and stuff like that. That was like very early on being pressed, like building your arsenal of like being versatile. And I feel like that's now why I feel I can do that now.
Right. You had a good foundation of like creativity and just being able to like not be afraid.
Yes.
And then you started putting it together where like the results came, end of high school.
Yeah.
But you're saying that you felt like right away you really more so had like a passion for wrestling, because your dad, I'm assuming your dad got you into it.
Yeah.
And then initially you were like, this is fun. I like this. Let's work on it a lot.
Well, yeah, I was actually, interesting enough, I was about to quit. Maybe not quit, but I didn't want to like compete.
Yeah.
Competing like made me so nervous, and I just didn't like it. And it was funny. It was in my like 6th grade, middle school. And I had made like youth state or whatever. And it's funny. Me and my dad usually didn't go to youth state because it was on the weekend of NCAAs.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad would always take me to NCAAs.
Right.
And it's funny because I had qualified, and he like jokingly, he's like, hey, you want to go to state? Haha. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And he was like, oh man, I was joking. And when we got back home, we like sat down and we talked about it with my mom and my dad, and like just ways I didn't enjoy it because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Like so nervous I'd puke. I was like really nervous. And I think again, talking about like catalysts and difference makers now, making that where like when I compete, I want to be fearless.
Right.
And I think it's interesting, like courage, and like courage isn't the absence of fear. It's just being able to do it with it and stuff like that. But I do for me, like it's interesting in my own thing, kind of being an independent study of my own journey. Like, is there a way that you can actually become fearless? And because there have been times, I'm sure you guys both know, there have been times where you're like going to go out to compete and you actually are fearless. Like you don't feel anything but like that. I was watching that Andrew Huberman, like talking about your focus and your pupils, like the opposite of dilating, what would that be? Focusing probably. And you're like in that flow state where there's just nothing. Like you don't feel anything in your gut. And I feel like that wanting to be done was kind of that helping me now where it's just like going and getting it.
Yeah. How did you deal with that in the moment of like being so nervous to compete? And how did you eventually like grow out of that?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it was a lot of like little tricks and tips and stuff. And I think having my mom and my dad being like a team together helping me. And more so not like trying to help me win, but just like the benefits that wrestling can bring, right? So like all those intangibles. I mean, my dad has been in it, and my mom, they met because of wrestling, honestly. So it's like they both know the intangibles of what wrestling can bring. And so my sisters have wrestled, my little brother wrestles, and like it was more so like you don't have to be great at wrestling. But this is something that was interesting. They're both like, I don't care what you're good at. You guys just have to strive for excellence in something.
Right.
In whatever. Like we played piano, we played soccer, we did judo, like I did chess club, like tons of different stuff. It was like you gotta strive for something. Like you're not gonna sit inside and play video games. Like you're gonna bring it. And I think that was kind of the thing that was pushing. Like it's not, you know, my parents, it was very clear. It's like, why are you so nervous? Right. Like you're not gonna get yelled at. And, you know, having my dad been in it so long, and we go and we still laugh about it, like little phrases that we heard dad say, like, you know, those kooks, like, sorry, but they're kooks, like just so interesting, the things that the dads say to their sons and stuff like that. And I've been so lucky to not have that, because I don't think a lot of son and dad sport relationships last long.
No.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
One takes a hit. It's either that they know that they can't be coach.
Right.
They can't be coach and athlete, or they know this is the worst, where the dad and the son relationship just gets obliterated. And so I think it was that. It was a mixture of that. It's like if you lose or win, it doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to not eat, or you don't get to sleep in your bed and you got to sleep on the floor, like weird crap like that. And my dad did really good where like if I got in trouble, or like, you know, as kids do, like it wasn't, I'm going to make you do push-ups, or I'm going to make you do a harder workout or something like that. He wanted me to enjoy that. So it wasn't, you know, it's going to be a reprimand. Maybe you got your phone taken away, instead of you're going to do push-ups and you're going to stay up at night doing workouts.
Yeah, so you didn't learn to like hate that.
Exactly.
You had a lot of healthy support, and they held you guys to a high standard, but it was for the sake of the intangibles outside of the sport. It wasn't for the result. Yeah. It was just to support you and get the most out of you, that, you know, your potential. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, you guys are both great examples, Bo too, of the dad-son relationship, because I've seen that go wrong plenty of times, especially in Jersey and the East Coast. Like there's some rough relationships, and it's sad to see, because it's such a good opportunity for a bonding moment. My dad wasn't like super involved and hard on me, or was able to be super on me with the sport, but he loved it, I loved it, and we bonded over it. So how did that kind of transition over to high school and then college, and what was that relationship like as you decided to eventually wrestle in college?
Yeah. I was talking to someone about this the other day. They asked me about like the idea of college wrestling. To me, there was really no question. Like, and I don't want to sound arrogant with that. It was just like, it wasn't like if I was going to wrestle in college, or, you know, a big thing now is like people make a big deal out of the like division that you wrestle in. To me, it wasn't really like, it was like, honestly, I'm going to Penn State. Like, I loved Penn State, as you know, that's as I do now. Like, I loved it. And it's probably because my dad would take me to Big Tens and would take me to NCAAs. And honestly, like looking back, you know, skipping youth state was the coolest thing ever, because now having, you know, he calls them like ignition events, because I think that's what they are, you know, and it's cool that he named them that, because it was like, what's cooler now, being able to say that I watched you guys and Rutherford and David all from the beginning. That was like my second grade year when Ruth and David were on the team. And what's cooler now to say that I got to go to that, or that I won however many state titles, youth state titles.
Right.
And so I just think like that was the biggest thing. And so for me, there was just really no question in my mind if I was going to do that. I think, obviously opportunities presented themselves at different times. And that, just taught me a lot of like fortitude and stuff, and a lot of, gratitude and to keep pushing, because it's hard when you commit, and it was the opportunity at the time that presented itself and you committed, and then, then you might win the US Open, U20, or you win, you make the team, and then you win and get a silver medal or whatever. And it's like, it was tough, but I think what needed to happen happened, as it always does, and stuff like that. And I think both relationships with Ben and my dad, I can't really say my dad, me and Ben's relationship got a lot better. Mm-hmm. Me and him used to like butt heads a lot. And it is interesting. Like, I don't know. It's just interesting, like being coach's son and having Ben, and Ben's known me since I was a little baby. And so it's just interesting having that dynamic. And I think, honestly, for all three of us, it taught us a bunch. And I think later it was interesting, though, when I maybe a little bit more emotionally mature, he would say I wasn't in my later high school years. And even when I got here, I mean, like, I'd get very frustrated even when I first got here. And, just that relationship being able to grow and stuff. And honestly, having that foundation. So when I had to go back home after that first semester of college, I could. And then I trained with them, my dad and Ben and Mirsolas and Aiden, and having those guys. And then I could get in the transfer portal.
Yeah. So talk about, it was really interesting because you said, you're like, I always saw myself at Penn State. I love Penn State. And then, your first year in school, you were at a different school.
Yeah.
And so then were you like the whole time still, because you're redshirting, were you still like, I'm motivated, going to like get in the transfer portal, go to Penn State? Or was it like kind of, more of a question in your mind, or what was the mindset?
I think now, like, it would be cooler if I could say it was like,
Right.
if it was like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But honestly, what happened the first time with having to enter the transfer portal, like, I never wanted it to happen again.
Right.
And honestly, like, it was sitting down with Ben and my dad and my mom, and as moms are usually right, my mom said, I think if you don't go to Penn State, you're always going to wonder what if, like, what could have happened. And that's totally right, because they sat through it when I mean, like, we'd have dress down days at our private school, and all I'd wear was Penn State. Like, from top to bottom, the socks, the shirt, the hat. Like, I loved it. And so I felt like it had to be more open-minded, because I really wanted to make sure that the second time was right.
Yeah.
And that I didn't have to go through what I had to go through again.
Right.
And I mean, even like, I was thinking, like, if this is, if what college wrestling is, and you guys know what that is, a lot of the time, the way that people train, I was like, honestly, I'm ready to just get my degree online and just do freestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I want to enjoy the sport.
Right.
Badly. And if I'm not going to enjoy it, honestly, I was ready to, like, I was looking into becoming a firefighter or something.
Right.
Like, I was ready to do something. And because if that's how wrestling was going to be, I was going to be done.
You didn't want the toxicity and the negativity and all the stuff that, the other side of the coin that comes with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the usual. That's kind of the usual thing. And so when it was like time to get into the portal, and see, I don't want to, like,
throw people under the bus.
Exactly. I'm not, and that's not my intent here, but like, I think everybody can agree that there is some sort of an extent of like a facade that gets thrown up when you go on visits.
Absolutely.
And you got to see
They're
through.
trying to sell it.
Yeah, and you got to see through the smoke and mirrors, and you got to do a good job of it, and you got to be able to feel the the genuine nature of people, and maybe honestly the disingenuous of, and not that's that bad. You're just their people want you to come to their school, and
it's a used car salesman. It turns into that a little bit.
Yeah, and so you got to really like, and I was just really honestly looking, like feeling my gut, like what did I feel, and I took Ben, it was really good with Ben having both of those, my mom and dad and Ben in this, like during that time, because Ben, just bouncing ideas off of each other. And Ben was like, hey, you should probably, once you hit the portal, it's probably going to go a little crazy. You should probably make a smaller list.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to lead coaches on and stuff like that. And I went on a few visits, and I actually thought that I was going to need multiple visits because I did the first time, and again, like I said, I didn't want to end up with what happened, so I wanted to make sure it was right. But I took unofficial, like 3 or 4 unofficials, and then I took Penn State official. And yeah, like Coach Kale doesn't really play games, and the coaching staff doesn't either. And so it was like, just come out on unofficial, why not? And so I came out, and I was sitting in practice, and I'm sure you guys were there. Like I was sitting at practice, and then like that gut feeling, that nervous, like uneasy. And I personally believe that God speaks to us through intuition. And I just felt like my intuition it was like, this is it. Mm-hmm. And so I went up and talked to my mom and dad. I talked to my dad up at the top of the bleachers. I was like, I think this is it. And he's like, and I'm sure there's in him too. It's like me and him are both like, there's that, years on top of years of us. Guys, like I would go out to wrestle, and for him to make it fun, he'd be like, throw a little Bo Nickal in there, throw a little Jason Nolf in there, throw a little Anthony Cassar in there, throw a little David Taylor in there, like to make it fun, because that's what we were working on. That's what we'd work on technique wise. And so he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I think this is it. And so we were pumped. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I got home. I hadn't even gotten home from the airport, and I was like told my mom from the airport, drop me off at school to my dad, because my dad's a teacher. And I was like, I want to talk to him and be like, this is it. And then that was it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so from your from that visit to when you got to campus, how long was that?
Quick. It was maybe April. It was when the baseball, we went to a baseball game. Mm-hmm. And I think we might have been a week or two off of the spring game.
Yeah.
So it was probably beginning of April. And then I was committed going to the U.S. Open that second time. And then I came here like all the freshmen do.
Yeah.
late June.
In the summer session.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
what was it like when you actually got here and you were like living here and now in it, right? Because I think that, there's probably a little bit of a difference between your visit, even though everything is like pretty straight up with the coaches, it's not different how they treat you, but like the vibe of being in here every day, what did you notice about that, and how did that make you feel?
I get turned off of people that like, and not in a bad way, I just, that like disingenuous, I've been burned a few times with like people like being so overly like, what's up, buddy? Like, I love you, man. And like the first week we meet or the day we meet is like, whoa. Like, I don't even know you. Right. And I'm not speaking of anybody in particular, that I usually am kind of like, whoa, like what's the angle here? And they weren't like that. Yeah. And so I felt like it was more, when I got here, like the biggest thing was like trust, like, that they could trust me and I could trust them, to where it is now, where I'm like, if I need to hit another workout, I'm like, what do you guys think?
Right.
And then, like I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Cause again, like I trust them 110% that if, win or lose, like I did what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same thing as it just when, not if,
right.
With these guys, with the best team and best coaches in the world.
Do you feel like that, obviously that relationship between yourself and your coach is super important. Having, your dad, having Ben, and now having the coaches here at Penn State, like building that trust for you was like essential.
Yeah. Because again, like what I was saying, me and Ben kind of hit heads earlier on. So like that trust built with my dad, and he did a good job of not making it, like early on, it was like, hey, when we're in here, dad's like at home.
Yeah.
So, cause a lot of the kids, it'll be like, dad, stop, stop. And it's like, no, like I'm your coach trying to help you.
Gotta push you.
Exactly. And maybe not even like, let's do a hard workout, but like, you gotta, kids don't listen to their dad sometimes. They think they're full of it. And so like trusting him. And then it was like trusting in Ben. And then honestly, and that was the biggest thing because of how many years we had butted heads. And it was like, I need, I need to trust him.
Real quick. Talk to me a little bit about this butted heads. What do you mean when you say that?
I just felt like, I'm going to take it like me personally. I just felt like I was young and I wanted to, just wanted to bicker and I wanted to think I'm right.
Right.
Just, kind of like that adolescent time where you're kind of like, you think but
you had that more so with Ben than your dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me and there was only a few times where like when I got a little older and me and my dad started scrapping a little bit. Which I think is cool because if your dad can still scrap at 50 years old, that's a good thing.
Definitely.
And so that was good. But yeah, and it was just kind of like being young and thinking that I knew more. And so honestly, like I think the butting heads more so was because of me.
Right.
Like I agree. I understand that. And I don't know, this, you got to really like, I'm not going to go super microscope on it to look at it in like terms of like psychology or something, but like maybe it was because of the dynamic with my dad, like more trust being in him. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure. But later it was like, no, like if, I'm being a jerk and Ben thinks I'm being a jerk, then okay, maybe I'm being a jerk. And honestly, like it's helped me a lot in my coming here and just being a good teammate and putting the biggest thing, you got to put ego aside in a room where it's the best in the room. It's like, that's what I want. And that's what I want until I retire. And so, I just feel like that helped me a lot being, just pulling out the wrong things.
Right. So it's almost like, I guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a really, really close relationship with your dad, and he's also your coach. And you probably trusted every single thing he said. Then you had a new guy come in, you butt heads a little bit. He's got to earn that trust. Yeah. And there's things that you did wrong in that. Maybe you have a little bit of an ego, but eventually, like you kind of earn that trust and put your ego aside a little bit, so you're able to have that lesson, and then come into college, you already had that lesson. So now it's like you have good natural instincts on who you can trust or not, but the coaches proved it to you early, and you've seen the results of other guys, and so then there was no period of really butting heads. It was like a quicker relationship formed that you could depend on them type of thing.
And I think honestly it was the only thing that was wrong in that is I think almost I wanted to earn their trust because like again, like I said,
I believe in me, like type of thing.
Yeah, because I watched not even just like believe in me, but like, can you trust my character as a man more so? Our coaches preach that. So I think I want them to more like who I am, and I'm not giving you 7 different faces. Who I am every day with the 100% is who I am and what I am when I'm out. Because I had already had the 110% from sitting in the stands and trying to steal techniques off of you guys. Like I had already, like I had the trust of my dad that he could watch the film and know that that's what just happened. Because a lot of people actually don't know that. Like a lot of people are not very good at watching film, and then it's like, oh yeah, they did that. And you're just like, whoa, like that's way off what just happened. So one, having trust in that, but then having trust because like you guys are just smashing people and the coaches. And it's just like, I already had that trust. I wanted them to trust in me for not even really winning. I just wanted them to trust that, that I'm going to, every day I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring it and I'm going to give my 110% and I'm going to try to be the best man that I can.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, you definitely proved that. That's
Thanks.
yeah. Where does that part of your style, like your nonstop pace, come from? Did you always have that, and is that like just who you are deep down, or did you have to work at it?
I think probably it coming from like those lessons earlier on. There was one when in my middle school I was at this tournament in Iowa, and it was late. It went really late, and it was like maybe 10 o'clock. And for a youth, like that's late.
Should be in bed like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, for real. And I gave up and I got pinned. And honestly, that might be the only time I ever gave up. Not maybe, it was. Like, that's the only time I've ever given up. And my dad was like, you know, you got that silence a little bit until you get to the hotel, and you're like, oh, geez, like, oh, man, like, you think, like, am I in trouble because I lost?
Right.
Or I got pinned? And he's just like, dude, like, he starts talking, and he's like, I don't care if you win or lose. Like, a lot of people say, like, a win's a win and stuff like that. And he's like, I would rather, performance matters, and I would rather you go out there and try your absolute hardest and put all your effort out there and lose than squeak by and win. Mm-hmm. And that was like huge. And again, you can go like with psychology, was it I didn't want to let my dad down? I don't even think so. I think it was just like that really like resonated, where it was like, that's my parents are going to be proud of me if I just go and bring it and like give my all. And I can sleep at night too, because I know if I didn't if I can come off on the mat and be like, okay, I tried my best. Mm-hmm. All right. Like, because honestly, if I retired today and I got hurt and I was done, like, I wouldn't regret anything. That's how I want it to be. Every time I step out there, it's like I'm giving my maximum effort so I can, the biggest thing
Deadpool?
Was so that, what did you say?
Is that Deadpool?
Honestly, it was like, so we could learn. That was the biggest thing. Like being able to go back with my dad and work on what needed to be worked on, because a lot of times you see, and that's tough. Like when I'm a coach now and I sit in the corner and I'll be looking, and it's like, I mean, how many times can you say shoot or attack?
Right.
It's like, there's the attack, there's the attack, there's the attack. And how many attacks go by in wrestling in general, even in college and in the highest level, like, there's attack. All right, there it was again. Like, go. Like, what are we waiting for? And so it's like, yeah, I don't want to wrestle like that.
So it sounds like learning and then just being proud of yourself for your effort. Those are like your two biggest drivers.
Yeah.
And then I always see you reading or like studying of some kind. So what do you do for wrestling and outside of wrestling to kind of enhance that part of your brain?
Yeah. Like, I think that your most important thing is your brain, right? And so for me, it was never cool to like socially or popularity to be like, I'm going to be like a jock and not know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to know what I'm talking about, and I want to be intelligent. And maybe that was, my mom is, and my dad's a teacher. And so like, that was kind of maybe a standard, like, you're going to work hard at your academics too. Mm-hmm. And so I just felt like that was a big thing. And then, I just think a person that knows what they're talking about and is intelligent, believes in something. I think nowadays you get people that try to believe in everything, but to me, that's just, you're just believing in nothing. Mm-hmm. So like believing in something, standing for something, and like reading up on it, being knowledgeable about that, and whatever it is, things that interest you. It makes me sad, like when you're going through the school system, them just like feeding you books that maybe you don't like. Mm-hmm. But like, getting into reading. Aiden Sinclair actually got me into reading a lot, and that was like, now I really love to read.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
I'm actually going to start now after the semester. I want to start Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What's your major?
Psych.
Oh, heck
yeah. Let's go.
With the focus in business, and then I got a minor in philosophy too.
Wow.
That's like, if I could redo college, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the psych courses, and I loved philosophy as well. And of course, business, but,
It's a great choice.
yeah, that's like, that's awesome that you, are doing all those things. That's
thanks.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that because for me, real estate and business, like the knowledge you need in those areas, in my opinion, they're kind of easier to pick up, but to learn how to think and like evaluate people and be self-aware is is much harder.
Understand behavior, understand psychology. So that's, I think in any industry, in anything you're doing, like that's so important. Mm-hmm. That's a foundation of everything, right? It's like almost like if you're going to be, an engineer, or if you're going to be, you need to understand like physics, you need to understand, math. It's like for anything that's relationship based or anything that you're using, anything you're communicating with anybody, right? Like in the end of the day, sports is kind of communicating between, the coaches and you and some film you're studying or whatever it is. But like psychology is really like what that is at a fundamental level.
This episode is sponsored by Huel.
So the other day, I'm headed to my second training session, running late, and I realized I hadn't eaten anything since that morning. My energy was dipping, and I knew if I went in like that, the workout would be trash. That's when I remembered I had a bottle of Huel Black Edition ready to drink in my fridge. I cracked it open, finished it in the car, and honestly, it saved me. It's packed with 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. It's low in sugar, which is huge for me. I don't want a sugar crash halfway through practice. I like the chocolate flavor because it actually tastes good. There's no prep, no cleanup, just twist, drink, and go. Whether it's a rushed morning, post-training, or right before a meeting, it's been a game changer for staying on track without slowing down. And the best part, it's under $5 a bottle. Cheaper than fast food and 1,000 times better for you. If you're someone who's always on the move and wants to stay fueled without the hassle, Huel's the move. New customers, visit Huel.com/Nickals today and use my code Nickals to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. That's Huel.com/Nickals. Now back to the show.
Well, I was actually just watching a John Bellion podcast, and they were talking about crystal intelligence versus fluid intelligence.
Which one was this?
It just dropped.
Yeah, send me the link if you find it.
I will. Yeah. And they were talking about crystal versus fluid intelligence, and I'm almost positive that crystal is like comes from your own experiences and learning that particular facet. And then fluid is just being an intelligent person and being able to whatever you're kind of thrown into, like kind of the good test taker thing. Yeah. Like you're fluid intelligent where you can go in and be like, okay, like I have enough intelligence that I can do well on this, even though maybe I haven't sat through all the lectures, stuff like that. Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. And then another thing, I didn't know this. I think it's so sweet you guys had Paul Saladino on here.
Yeah.
And like that's really sweet. And then I've been starting to like get into that kind of stuff with, Vitality with Dake and stuff like that. Just really cool. I think it's interesting. We tried, as like a civilization, we went so far away from Eastern medicine and Eastern thinking and all those things. Yes, and convenience. Yes, we went so far into Western where, it's almost like free thinking has gone almost. Like where's truth lie? Mm-hmm. And I like a lot of his stuff where just breaking it's almost like we've tried so hard to make things complex when in actuality it can be very simple.
Just look at our roots, look at our foundation, where we came from.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. What do you do to deal with stress?
Yeah. There's actually like a week before the open, things kind of like really hit me. And this second semester was like really tough with classes and school. And I don't want to mess around with my classes. Like I want to get all A's. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like came crashing down, and more so like I didn't want to win in wrestling. It was more like I want to get better, and I like that became a little too stressful, and on top of your academics and like trying to all the little things that you're trying to do in life. And so it kind of hit, and I actually started like crying to Coach Kale, and me and him were talking, and just like, there's just little things, you know, like little things that can help, whether it maybe, you know, you get some ice cream, or my girlfriend has been really, really helpful. Like through the season, I've never had like a girlfriend come to my matches, or a girl for that at all. Like I'd never had that come to matches and be there for me, and that helped a lot. And then also just like that kind of stuff, looking like getting out, bringing your brain out of wrestling and maybe putting it into, you know, a Paul Saudino podcast or reading a book or whatever, like those things, I think really help. But the biggest thing probably just being with people,
right,
and enjoying that time.
Yeah. So enjoying your relationships and the people that love you and support you, and also taking a step away from the thing you're most passionate about, but you can overdo it.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, were you trying to like be the best at too many things at once, or what would you say was kind of leading to making you feel like overly stressed and putting too much pressure on yourself?
Yeah, I think the three things my dad used to tell me, he's like, you can be good at two of the three things, and one of them is you know, like an academics, athletics, or your social, and you can only be good at two of the three. And it's why I bring that up is because my dad taught me that when I was young, and then Coach Kale brought it up without me saying like anything. He brought it up, and he, you know, he brought up that, and just that it's tough to be good at all three. It's tough to be great at all three. Right. You can be good at all three, right? But I don't just want to be good, you know, like. And so I think, like you said, it was like. And it was interesting because it wasn't like, I want to win. You know, it's like, I want to see. It was more so like, and this is kind of ironic, but it's like, I want to see the progress. I want to be great. You know, I want to get better. And it was that. And then it's like the teachers. My teachers were not very nice this semester with
Sometimes
missing stuff.
Yeah.
Man, it was like, you know, you'd miss, and then it'd be like, no, you can't make up that assignment. It's just like, what?
Yeah, that's the worst.
Why? And so that stuff, and it's just like
I want to do the work.
Exactly.
But like, give me I'm not even asking for a break. Just give me let me do the work when I can.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. How do you feel like, so let's rewind a little bit. Talk to me about your freshman year, going all the way through competing, and, you know, you came out super hot and had an amazing year, and, just talk to me about your experience through your first year of college wrestling. What was that like? How much did you learn?
Yeah, tons. I really like Matthew McConaughey, and I think
all right.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he's great, and I like listening to him a lot. And I think he said something about like being less impressed and more involved. And I think that was kind of that time to be. But honestly, I think this year was a little bit living it more.
Okay.
Where it was less impressed and more involved, because last year, like I'd put on the singlet, and I'd look down and I'd be like, geez, like this is what I've been looking at for years and years and years. Like these are the guys that I wanted to be. And it's a very weird like duality between that now, being that and with the humility that it requires as well. Being I think that's the thing now, where it's hard, because I want to be, you know, like a good man, and I don't want to be arrogant, and I want to be humble. And it's interesting when, you know, and we're so lucky that people like wrestling here, but it's tough. You go out, and then, you know, you constantly have people wanting to blow up your head, right? And it really getting, man, you know, you're great and all these things. And it's like interesting, really trying to like remain humble.
Yeah.
But in terms of the freshman year, I think it was I was still in that awe factor, that awestruck. Like I was like, wow, this is awesome. And just kind of competing the way that I want to compete, and going out there and just bringing it and having fun. You know, just living the things that, you know, it seems everybody's saying now. Everybody, you know, says the things, but it's just the people that actually implement it that are the difference makers.
Yeah. Nickals and Dimes is sponsored by TasteMade. I'll be honest, meal planning is the worst part of cooking. Like, I don't mind making food, but trying to figure out what to make every day, that's where I always get stuck. That's why I started using TasteMade Plus, and it's actually made my week a whole lot easier. Personalized meal planner is a game changer. You plug in what you like, it builds a full week of meals for you. You can swap or remove recipes super easily, and it even gives you a grocery list based on what you picked. So even when I'm traveling, I'm able to dial in my nutrition and not waste time. I've been messing around with a few of the recipes. The Chipotle-style chicken burrito bowl is legit, and the honey garlic glazed meatballs are solid for meal prep. Plus, the step-by-step videos make it so easy to follow, even when I'm half asleep after a double training day. And when I'm actually cooking, there's a cooking mode, so the screen stays on. No more unlocking my phone with chicken hands. Try TasteMade Plus free for 7 days right now at tastemade.com/Nickals. As a listener, you'll also get 40% off your first year. Cancel anytime, no pressure. That's tastemade.com/NICKALS. Now back to the show. Let's talk about your NCAA finals match that year. It was a great match. Didn't go your way, but I feel like you had to have learned a lot from that. And how do you what was that moment like? And now, however many over a year later, how do you view it? And what's your kind of assessment?
I think like it taught me a lot about myself and my relationships with the people, here. And, because I saw a video of it, like, I kind of was like, man. And when I walked over to their corner after it was done, and I was like, I thought it was going overtime. Like, I didn't know why I thought that, because it's very clear that it was like he had riding time and all that stuff. And them, getting the text from them that next morning and stuff like that. And then AB, I went back into the locker room after I lost, and I was like, man. And I kept saying, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Like, and not like that, how words lose their meaning when you're just saying, like, I can't believe it. Like, no, like, I actually couldn't grasp the idea that I had just lost. And AB a couple weeks later was like, I remember you saying that. And he shared a time when he couldn't believe it either, when he had lost in a match. And it was like, it was weird, because I felt like I was tricked. Like, I felt like I had been tricked by, like, you don't want to say God, but like, I felt like I was tricked. Like, was that what was supposed to happen? And that sounds really weird, but that's how my head like wrapped around it. I was like, that was not supposed to happen. Like, that was, I don't know. And it was almost like maybe and I still think these things, but I kind of, try to put it on my mind. Like, maybe if I would have put one more like in one of those shots to get to the leg and finish, and I would have won. But now there's not really those questions that are begged anymore in my brain, because I know what that did in the off season and has done to me as a man, and just all those things. And as a wrestler, like, all the things that I needed to learn. Yeah. That I needed to learn. And so it was like, what needed to happen happened. And so that's kind of how, I wrap my head around it. And I think it's cool. I'm glad we get to wrestle now and have that fun and scrap. I love it. For sure. I love those kind of things.
Yeah. At the end of the day, right, it's like, those moments are springboards and opportunities for you to just improve and use them as motivation. And I went through a similar thing, and I think that when I saw, first off, I was really, brokenhearted for you, because I know how much you put into it and how bad, how hard you compete. So, obviously want it for you. But then seeing the growth that came from that next, the summer and throughout this year, I mean, I think that in my mind, there's no question that that's, what was supposed to happen. And that's what's going to be best for you long-term, because, I just look at, maybe you would have, grown just as much having won.
You can't know.
But like, I guess, I see it as like, wow, like, you really made big jumps and big improvements. And I'm sure that was, some type of factor in that, right? Like so I think that, you can only look at it with gratitude and appreciation. And it's something that, the negative feelings, they continue to fade. Like they last a long time, but they'll continue to fade, and you'll only get like more and more positive out of that in the future moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think that was one of the reasons why I was so, because Coach Casey says like we don't need to lose to learn, and I wanted after this season, I wanted so bad to not be complacent and be some guy that just whatever, I'm not gonna train or I'm not that guy,
right?
Like I'm not gonna take it easy, and like not just keep the foot on the gas, press it down even harder. Like I'm going. And I like one thing that Coach Kale says is like, why not? Like, why not now? Like talking about like making the world team. It's like, I'm still halfway through. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. Like,
absolutely.
And that's, but I want, it's just sweet. I'm so grateful to be with all you guys and at Penn State, because I can do those things, and like I watched FinalX for so long, and now I get to be in it. And it's just like, the having you guys as mentors, not only just in wrestling, but as men and fathers and husbands and stuff like that. Like that's the man I want to be. And, I really am very appreciative that that's who I've been so lucky to, I was able to sense that intuition and come here, because that's like, now it's not only, wanting to do things in wrestling, but like, I want to, as a man and as, wanting to be a good man to the people in my life too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's super mature of you to have that perspective so early, because it's definitely not where my head was at. But
how old are you?
21.
21?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think about that.
Yeah. So you're ahead of the game. So you said that you feel like you hear God's voice through your intuition. Where does your relationship with him and your faith kind of come into play during those difficult moments, like taking a loss or whatever it is?
Yeah. That, what needed to happen happened. What needs to happen will happen. And that was very big, just in last year, this previous year, and going forward. Like, and that's what gives me a lot of tranquility in my gut and in my mind and in my heart, like knowing that what is going to happen will transpire, right? Like that's going to come about. And it's kind of like rolling with the punches. You just keep on, because I know the one thing that's going to remain constant is my effort through all of it. And so that's kind of easy then, whatever comes my way, it's like, okay. And then we do that.
Yeah. I've thought about that concept for like a decade now. And there's one quote that kind of sums it up for me, which is kind of what you just pointed at, is work as though you're in control, pray as though God is.
Yeah.
And so it kind of puts the responsibility of your effort in your hands, and then trusting in the big picture in him. So we can only control what we can control. The rest, we do our best to trust.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I think like there's lots of facets in there, like timing of things, when things are going to come about. And like talking with Bonnie, like her, she has that one sign up in her office that was like when the 3 things that are required for you to want something, and then when those 3 things are taken care of, then the universe conspires it to happen. And whether the universe is what you believe in, or if it's God or whatever, and whatever kind of deity you believe in, it's like that for me is like, I think that was very interesting in that time talking to Bonnie about like, you just got to know what you want. And you got to also want it for the right things and such. But I think it's interesting. Yeah. Like I think, and having your heart, and it honestly makes you weigh your wants and weigh your heart. Where is it at? And in the things that you want. Yeah. For me, just like being a man, that more so than wanting to win and just being a good man. That's for me. Like I want to be a good man, and that weighing that, I think, has been what you just talked about. That was more in my head even to now.
Yeah. Yeah, balancing the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got finalists coming up.
Yeah.
How you feeling about that?
Good.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You look
Ready
freaking
to go.
great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You excited to compete?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I love these, we're transitioning to like summer workouts now where, there's a little less instruction, so I can kind of, maybe go a little harder. Like today, I got to just grab Mirasol and we got to start going live. Like, I love that stuff. I love, and I think those are the biggest leaps and bounds when those are, when it's like, I love this and I want to get better. And just being able to put you and Dake and Coach Kale in 1 week, and then filling in guys, just guys like Rocco or whoever it is, like just savages, just every day. And it's awesome. And I think that's what excites me. And I love that. Like, I love being able to scrap too when it, kind of, I think that's that's when you become dangerous, is like, having fun competing. That's fun. But when you have fun training too, you're just never going to want to stop.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
How do you balance, like, you obviously have a really strong confidence and belief in yourself, and you've talked about a lot of other qualities and values that they don't oppose it, but in some people's mind they might, like things like humility and gratitude. And so how do you balance what comes with extreme confidence and belief and ambition with humility and gratitude? For you, what's that look like?
Yeah, there was something I was thinking about when like I first got here, and then the end of this year, like, don't let humility get too much in the way of your confidence as well. So yes, they do definitely, the two or whatever, multiple things we've been talking about can contradict themselves. I think, I don't know. I think it was interesting. Me and AB were talking about, is it like conceited and is it vain to want to win? And I think the answer to that question is why do you want to win? And we talk about that you don't really need anything other than you want to. But I think do you want it because you want Instagram followers? Right. Do you want it because you want popularity? And then further, is it because you want to have women? Is it because, just money? Is it those vices? Like, why is it? And I think it's interesting, like that idea of wanting to win. Is it vain? Because I think kind of what we were talking about, like, if what needs to happen will happen, I'm just going to focus on the journey of it, allows me to have confidence in my training, and then also be humble with whatever comes. Because especially this year, like for me, it's been, if it happens, then, it's kind of the plan, and if it doesn't happen, that's part of the plan. And so, taking that time, kind of, it's interesting. You said like you work as it's almost in your hands, but then you pray like it's in God's, like having that fallback, like on God, like, okay, it's like, it's good. Like, he's going to take care of it, but at the same time, he can take care of it because you go out there, whatever it is, day in and day out, whether it's how you're treating someone on the street or how you're thinking, or you're talking about people, or, going out there and you're going to give it your effort and stuff like that. And I think as athletes and as people that strive for excellence, I think it's easy to get hard on yourself. Very easy. Like that's a very slippery slope, where I think confidence can wane for sure. And I sense it in myself sometimes, but when that happens, I just feel like it's kind of like, all right, like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep doing the thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I know that, not only has like really brought success, it's not really that. It's just what kind of, like you said, like what you pride yourself off of, like what your foundation, what your core values are. And that for me is just like the effort. And that's what's, no matter what it is, you know, like if it's going to be in psychology or business or whatever, or wrestling for until I'm retired, you know, like that's kind of, I think, how you weigh the two.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And the reason that I asked that question is because when I watch you compete, and when I watch you train every day, it's, to me, like really apparent that you have extreme confidence and belief, but you also, I feel like, are very humble, and you're very
Thank you.
grounded, right? Like, you know, even Tony said, like, the things that you're thinking about now as a 21-year-old kid are not at all like what I was really thinking about, or what Tony was thinking about. Like, that's very unique and it's very apparent. And so I think that I wanted to like kind of extrapolate and see, you know, what you thought of it, because I think other people, it would just make the world a better place if, regardless of whether they're doing wrestling or, you know, business or teaching or whatever it is, like to come at their craft with that perspective of like, hey, I'm confident, I believe in myself, but I'm going to like stay grounded, stay consistent, stay focused on my effort and my gratitude, because I'm doing this out of real purpose and intention, not fleeting, you know, things that are really just traps, right? Like it's, I think a lot of people get caught up in pursuing things that are really going to bring them to their demise, rather than you can be doing the same thing day to day in a way that is actually like honoring God, honoring your relationship with God, honoring your, you know, parents, your family, and yourself. And there's a difference between, you could do the same thing, right? You could train, or you could, you know, work, or you could, you know, whatever it is. And it day to day, it looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. And when I view it, when I see what you're doing, I feel that, and I can see it. And it's motivational for all the people around you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like two things to that, if I can, like, I think, one, you got to have buffer systems for sure. And I think, like, for instance, like you can have the confidence, but you need the humility. Or in wrestling terms, like I can blast shots off all day, but I need to be able to wrestle out of a front headlock.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why, like, you don't see guys shoot that much or stuff like that. They don't have that confidence in the backup systems of what happens, or wrestling in all areas, or scrambling, stuff like that, right? When they do get past the basic shot D and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, one of the first philosophy classes that I took here, I had a really good professor, and he was talking about hedonic versus eudaimonic pleasures. And hedonic is, you know, like instant gratification, you know, like drugs and sex and stuff like that. And then eudaimonic is like, you know, the difference being graduating college, or having kids.
An earned reward.
Exactly. Marriage and stuff like that. And just getting older and talking to, like, again, people that are married, and that's, I want to be, you know, a husband, and I want to be a dad, and talking about those things. And I always felt like that, you know, setting up for the next thing. You're never going to be fully prepared for the next thing, but trying to be somewhat prepared, and learning in those things, and understanding that, you know, things like marriage are going to be hard, but that it brings eudaimonic pleasure instead of the hedonic.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I had this thought come to me. And I wrote it down. Let me find it real quick. It's in my notes. Oh, yeah, here it is. I just said, have contempt for instant gratification. And I was like, oh, yeah, I love that, because I think instant gratification, and especially in our world today, it's like almost the primary driving force behind decision-making for like 95% of the male population. It's like, how can I instantly gratify my needs, whether that's, you know, substances or women, or, you know, money, or whatever it is. It's like, that's why, you know, certain things are so big and so popular. And I feel like if you really want to be the best version of yourself, you can't just be like, have instant gratification as like something that's, floating around. You got to be like, I despise this. Like you have to have disdain for instant gratification. I think you're the best example of that I know personally.
Appreciate it.
Because I saw you eat unseasoned chicken for 8 years straight. And I was like, there's really no reason to do that. Like you can just put salt and pepper on it. And then, but in reality, it's like, I think that was just part of your process.
Yeah.
Was like, I don't, even though it's something so small, the reason that you're eating the chicken is not for it to taste good. It's for fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. And that thought's always there. Like when you're doing something that's not fun, it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
There's something down the line that I'm doing this for, whether that's like to develop a quality or that's for an end result.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like people always want to be happy. And so they jump to the immediate gratification when it's the complete opposite. If they want to be happy, they can just delay and do hard things to get something eventually. And that's going to give you a good amount of joy.
Well, exactly. There's your thing. Like, do you want to be joy? Do you want to have joy? Do you want to be fulfilled, or do you want to be happy?
Yeah. Right.
Should be happy for a few seconds.
It was odemonic versus
hedonic.
Hedonic. Yeah, that's the difference right there.
Yeah.
Like that's things you're gonna elicit a response in your brain, and there's certain chemicals that are gonna go off regardless.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna feel dopamine and you're gonna feel certain things, but the reason that we feel dopamine is to continue to motivate us. And if that motivation comes too easy and too often, now it's just not going to be what it's supposed to be. It's going to just like, you're not going to feel that. It's going to eventually, wear itself out.
Yeah.
But that's a cool lesson to learn in a class, like especially right away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, like, hopefully people don't take this the wrong way, but like, I really honor. I think there's a lot of honor in a married man, in a man that stays with his wife and his kids and things like that. Like, I think there's a lot of honor in that, and because it's very, like, it's hard. And same for the wife. Like, I think it's hard to be married, and it will be. And, like, it is, and it always will be. But there's a reason. And this is the coolest thing that I learned in that course. Like, there's a reason that the things that have brought fulfillment have transcended history. Like kids and monogamy and, giving yourself your all and yourself to whatever facet you've dedicated to, stuff like that. I think, and to me, like, I think in a world where instant gratification is running rampant, and you got the false promises of the devil and all these things that are ready to tempt you. Like, I think spiritual warfare is at the utmost high ever, and it's I think there's just a lot of dignity and honor when I see a man that is married to one woman, and the woman and the man have promised themselves. I just think that that's really cool. I think that's one of the ultimate struggles of being able to make that work and being able to stay together, and through kids or through not, just being able to make that relationship work is really cool.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so like foundational to society and pushing things forward and in the right direction. And I think that when you break that relationship down a little bit, you see the man as a leader, right? And how do you feel like your relationship with the team is now? You're going into your third season here, and what's your role like in a leadership capacity with the other guys? Like, is that something you think about, or is it just more of a, I'm gonna lead by example, or what's your thought process on that?
Greg said something last year in an interview about me, like people being leaders and how you can do it without speaking. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think, like, being, because at the end of the day, we are all men, and men sometimes don't like to get told, you know, what they got to do, stuff like that. And I think that's why our coaches are so good at what they do. Is it's not like you guys can come to us, you know, like you can only bring the horse to the water, right? And so it's like, I think like not really being intent, not really like thinking I want to be a leader now. It's just more like I'm just gonna do what I do, and hopefully that is leadership enough,
Right.
like what I do. And I think that comes from the top down, right? Like we have the best leaders in the world in any facet. And I believe that. And like, that's what I'm going to do right there. And that's what I'm going to model. Again, another philosophy thing, like moral exemplars, like what is morality to you? It's usually who you look up to, what starts persuading you one way or the other. If you think it's cool to, be a womanizer, then you're going to probably go that way. If you think it's cool to be with marriage and you want that, that's probably where you're going to go. And it works with all those things. And I'm staying on the marriage thing, but whether it's wrestling too and your actions and stuff like that, like that's. But again, I think why I'm sticking on those things and why you keep bringing up like false promises by the devil and all these things, like, is because I think it's greater than wrestling. And I think, and I really figured this out last year when your life, you start figuring things out in your life, that's when wrestling becomes easy. When this is your life, right? And this is wrestling. Like wrestling is just a direct reflection of who I am. It's not everything I am.
Yeah. It's
right?
you do it, and
exactly.
It's something that you can be grateful for, but it's not all encompassing.
Exactly. It's just a reflection.
Right. It is cool though, because I feel like wrestling, I mean, I played a lot of sports and stuff growing up, but I feel like wrestling is the best example of that as far as having a microcosm of life, because it's so tough and it's not like you can get, a reward, but it's not like, it's just real. I feel like, it's just like the most real thing is like you and one other dude, and you're just going to figure it out. Yeah. You get a scrap, and it's like, man, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And there's not like all this other, like going into MMA, actually makes me appreciate wrestling like a lot more because of the culture and the community, and like, you have so much structure, and like start when you're, 5 years old, and you build up, and you have, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're growing so much through that. And it's just like very pure and real. And like in fighting, you have that in the competitive sense, but you don't have it in like a cultural sense. The community of MMA is not at all what the community of wrestling is. It's very vapid and very like surface level, right? Like people don't really understand the sport. Like I would say 99% of the MMA community has very little understanding of MMA and like what it takes. But in the wrestling community, it's like people have reverence for the sport. They have reverence for like what it takes. Mm-hmm. They have reverence for people that win or people that lose. Like if you're just like going for it, like people respect you regardless. And I think that, for me, my perspective, like looking back into my roots, I just have so much gratitude for that. And really at the end of the day, like all my support that I really care about is like those people. Like there's people that have come in and support me that just know me as an MMA fighter, but the people that are like really like ride or die with me, that like get like my journey and understand that, are wrestling people and like, my teammates and coaches and people that I've got to know growing up. But wrestling is like a really cool, getting out of, not that I'm still very much in the community, but getting like into another community, it makes me appreciate it that much more.
Can I ask something on that? Do you think, you said like more surface level, do you think, you heard Joe Rogan like say how the wrestlers, they're not in it for like much other than the glory of
competition.
of winning.
Yeah.
There's like, that's pretty much the glory, like
reward.
especially in American wrestling, because you get overseas and like people are getting houses and cars and stuff to win,
right?
But that's not what it is over here.
No.
Do you think that has what the payoff is almost is what that's rooted in? Do you think that has something to do with the fan base knowing, being more reverent and stuff like that?
I think it absolutely has something to do with it. I think that the reward of winning a fight, you have a little bit of what you have in wrestling, but you always have, I think a greater portion of that is financial. And so what it takes to win a fight is not what it at like the world-class level is not what it takes to win in wrestling at the world-class level.
How so?
So for you to win at a world-class level in wrestling, you have to start and work and go through a system and go through a process and win and lose and wrestle thousands and thousands of hours and be able to, really dedicate your whole life for decades and decades to like do that, right? Like you've been wrestling for almost 2 decades and you're just getting to the point where you can compete at a world-class level.
Yeah.
And in fighting, I've been fighting professionally for less than 3 years and I'm already competing with the top 15 guys in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not really a possibility in any other sport. And so I think that because of that, you also have people coming into the sport that aren't really invested in it. They're not like, they like the entertainment of it, but they don't understand it at a deep, profound level. And there's also the fact that I would say the majority, if not the vast, vast majority of people that are watching fights are all betting on it. Like they're watching fights because they put $10 on a parlay and they want to see the result and they want to win some money.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing in wrestling. Like there's no betting. It's just like pure. That's what I was saying. Like it's more pure. It's more real. And so fighting is almost like the competition aspect of fighting. The sport is very similar, but the community, the culture is very, very different.
Yeah.
I think also too, with most sports and especially wrestling, like at NCAAs, what's the percentage of people in that arena that you think had wrestled?
A lot.
Yeah. But when you go to a fight,
0. It's like 10 people in the crowd.
Dude,
maybe.
it's so like this is the first time that I experienced the crowd, and like it's so tough. Everyone's just so like hammered and uneducated, and like no one there has had professional fights.
No.
Like a handful of people out of 20,000 people. So I think that's like pretty unique for a sport.
Yeah.
Like most people that watch, golf, they probably golf.
Yeah.
Football, they probably grew up playing football at some point or whatever.
Right.
Like they at least understand part of the sport.
Or they've been watching it for 25 years.
Yeah.
Whereas MMA, it's like, this might
Young
be the
and
first fight ever that people have watched.
Definitely young.
It's
young.
it's a young sport and it's a young crowd. And
Young
it's,
crowd,
it's tough.
A lot of alcohol, a lot of gambling,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's, I'm not going to sit and judge people because everybody's on their own path, but that affects
The vibe,
your
and the
mental
energy.
state
Yeah.
in a massive way.
Yeah.
And I think that personally, like, that's something that I don't like about fighting. There's a lot of things I really like about fighting. I don't like the culture that it's kind of cultivated. And I hope that, like, bringing in a new crowd into MMA, which are the people that understand wrestling and who know me, will push the sport maybe in, like, even if it's a little bit, like, in a different direction, because it is a great sport. Like, it's so fun to learn, like, all the things that you love about wrestling, the creativity, the toughness, the endurance, the tactics, the strategy, like that's all in fighting too. Like, it's all, but it's not what people highlight, right? Like, you can look at, flow wrestling or different breakdown videos, and you can talk about the intricacies of what's going on with a beautiful Mitchell Mesenbrink misdirection shot. And with fighting, it's like, let's bleed, knock him out. This was and like that type, but that type of stuff is like, it happens, but it's not like it's just a surface level. It's like, okay, you see the guy connect the fist to the chin, but The reality is this guy had to like orchestrate all this different strategy and positioning to put himself there and to make it happen, right? Like, whereas wrestling, people understand that a little deeper, and in fighting, it's not emphasized.
It keeps reminding me of like gladiators and like that like barbarianism. Yeah. And just like humans, like human nature, which is odd, but like wanting to see people scrap. Yeah. It's like really, because you still get in wrestling. You do. People still want to see people scrap.
That's part of why people like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really interesting. But like the coolest thing, and that's interesting, I didn't know this. My girlfriend actually told me this because she went to Rome and went to the Colosseum, and the guide was talking about that gladiators, you know how they get their freedom, and most of them would stay. Wow. Most of them wouldn't even pay. They'd be free, but they'd go back in because they just love it.
They were stars too.
Yeah, exactly. They were stars and they loved it, and that's to me that's cool because it's like loving the scrap.
That's what I love about it. Yeah, that's like when the reason I fight is that. Because I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like, this is so fun. Yeah. But I think that with the positive, you have to take the negative in stride. And it's just been interesting to learn as somebody that has wrestled his whole life, right? Because like, I think when you grow up, you make you've read the 4 agreements, right? Yep. Right. You make agreements with yourself in the way you understand the world, the way you relate to the world. Yeah. And so a very significant portion of my agreements were made based on wrestling and the community that I was involved in and understanding that. And now it's like, oh, whoa, like this is different. Like this is not what I knew. But even then I'm like, wow, it's cool to learn new things. Yeah. And even though they might feel bad emotionally, or it might make me feel bad about myself, I'm glad that I have the foundation that I do to be able to like take that in stride and really observe it rather than like, take it in and make it like I already have a strong base of my beliefs. So those don't really, they impact me, but they don't like change my beliefs that I already have really. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting though. It's fun. Yeah. Well, got FinalX in a couple weeks. Yeah. But more importantly than that, we're wrestling on Thursday. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's big. Real FinalX. Are you ready? Yeah.
I'm pumped.
You ready for that?
Oh, yeah. When's the last time we wrestled? Like the season?
It's been a while.
I think I've gotten a little better.
Have you?
Yeah.
Me too.
He's been eating cookies and stuff, so you're good.
It's all right. I did too.
The thing about me is that I realized is I'm a big instinct guy. So I think I do better off of making bad decisions outside of wrestling. It like kind of brings out a different type of animal where I'm like,
that freshman year ginger just ready to scrap.
Bad. Yeah. No, I have to balance it though a little bit, but I had a good workout today. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So
And he's much bigger too.
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit. Not too much. Yeah. Bigger than you or me?
Me. 50 pounds. I'm saying like
50?
Me to Cole.
That's a big difference, huh?
I
see you guys as the same size. My view.
Yeah. Well, you probably are around the same weight as Cole, so you get a little bit. No way,
bro. Cole's way bigger than me.
Cole's not even like 230, I don't think.
What do you think I am?
Like 210 maybe?
Close.
Yeah.
Like I was 205 this morning.
Yeah. So that's close. That's closer than 170.
Yeah.
But it's all right. I'll bring the smoke.
It's a good I'm glad you're building these excuses in. It's really.
I don't need them. It's all good.
All right. Just checking.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Good. Well, you got anything else, Tony?
No. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks
for
sharing,
bro. This is great.
You're wise beyond your years, so thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.